Hey, I'm Cassandra, and I was just sitting here praying about a conversation that I had with one of my friends. And there's a young man at our church who wants to answer the call that the Lord placed on his heart. And so we were talking about that in different ways that we can support him in this call. And something that just started pouring out of my mouth, which was spoken earlier that day at church. And it's the simple fact that when God calls us, we are not qualified. We can never be qualified to do God's work. Only God is qualified to do his work. Everyone that the Lord sends out into his mission fields is not qualified by traditional standards. They might not have the spiritual understanding. They might not have the educational level. They might not have the experience. But none of that matters. What matters is that when God calls us, it's because he sees something broken and willing and beautiful in us that he can work through. Again, he sees something in us. He sees our weakness, but he sees our strengths. He sees our willing heart, and he wants to be our co-worker in his mission field. He wants to work through us. And we cannot let the world or whoever else, even ourselves, we can't let ourselves doubt what God sees in us. Because we do not see ourselves, we do not see other people as God sees it, as God sees us. And so when God calls us to do a thing, it might not make sense. It might be scary. It might be confusing, just downright out of your league. That's okay. Don't worry. Don't be anxious. Pray. And in loving obedience, obey. Just go. Just take that step, one step at a time, one day at a time, one task at a time. Just move. And you can trust that the Holy Spirit will go before you, the Holy Spirit will move with you, and the Holy Spirit will move behind you. Your path is paved. You can trust in the Lord. You can trust in his holy presence. You can trust in the call that he gave you, no matter how big it may be. You can trust that call. You can trust that you are worthy, that you are chosen, that you are indeed qualified, not because of your experiences, not because anything that you did on your own. You are qualified because God qualified you. So no, you don't need a fancy degree. You don't need to go to seminary school. You don't need any of that. All you need is God's call, a humble heart that is willing to go where his Holy Spirit leads you, that is willing to yield. When he gives you words to speak, you are willing to speak them. When he gives you a prayer for somebody, you are willing to pray that prayer. When he sends you to somebody, you are willing to go. When he sends you to a location, you are willing to go. That's all you need. It's his call, a willing heart. And that is more than qualified in God's eyes. In his holy, all-knowing, all-seeing eyes. So even though you may have a certain lifestyle, I'm not condoning any particular lifestyle or whatever, but the point is, regardless, of your lifestyle, regardless of your decisions, regardless of anything, really. When God calls you, He knows you're qualified for Him to work through you. You got this. Be encouraged. Be strong and courageous in the Lord. Trust that God does not make mistakes. Be honored that He is willing to call you and work through you in your perfectly imperfect self. He loves you. He sees you. He is with you. He will stay with you. So just go. Whatever it is. Even if it's somewhere in prayer. You're not supposed to physically go somewhere. If He tells you to pray, just pray. If He tells you to go somewhere, just go. If He tells you to talk to somebody, tells you to text, to call, to email, just do it in faith and in love.